Very good morning to all of you. I am Kapil Jain, Assistant Professor in Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. Today I am going to take a very important subject of the EC third year and fifth semester, that is digital communications. This is very core subject of the communication engineering, and in this video we are going to discuss the fundamental of the digital communication. What is the use of digital communication, and why we are using the digital communication over the analog communications. So first we have to know about basic the fundamental of communications. What is the mean of communication, and how many types of the communication can be done in a real life. And in this video, we will also discuss basically the some real example of the digital communications, which we are seeing day to day in our life. And in this video, we will discuss basically the course outcome, which will be beneficial. And after the completion of this course, what will we take from lesson from this course? And last but not least, we will discuss also the some standard books which should be preferred during the course. So again, I am welcoming to all of you in this subject, that is digital communication. So in this presentation, I will cover all these outlines, like prerequisite of the topic, course objective, introductions, example of the digital communication, that is basically the real example, and area of the research in digital communications. So this is very the emerging field where the students can explore about the knowledge in the field of research. And last, what we are going to learn in this during this session. And last, that is the course outcome, and we have also referred some standard books during the course. So the first question, the first we have to know basic idea about the communications. So before going to start any course, we have to know basic some fundamentals about the subject. So in this subject, we have to know about the basic fundamental of the signals and their operations on it. And also we have to know about the some transformation, that is a Fourier transform, where we are converting the signal in the time domain into the frequency domain. So that these are the some essentials things which the students have to know before to going to start this subject. These are the some course objective which we have decided. Like the aim is to identify the function of different components and learn about the theoretical bounds on the rate of digital communication system and to represent the signal. And we will also discuss some important communication techniques. And in the last unit, we will discuss basically the information theory and the coding. So these are the some course objective, and which will be the student will try to learn during the syllabus. So the first question rises in our mind: what is the communication? The communication is basically, we can say that is the exchanging of the information from the source to the receiver. Like that, suppose that anyone want to send his information from sender to the receiver, so that he or she can transmit the informations by speaking, by writing, or by using the some other medium. So that in a short, we can say that the communication is basically conveying a sharing of the ideas and the feelings. So that according to the classifications that we can see in this example, here the some persons are contacting to each other by the phone, and the some one is watching the TV, and someone is basically doing the chatting by the computer. So these are the some communication examples which is basically real in our life. So that we can also classify the communications in a three-way, like the verbal communications, that is by the telephone, satellite communications, radio communications, and face-to-face, and last, television communication. And the non-verbal communication is basically related to the body gesture communication, and the written communication is like the emails and the letters. But the questions rise in our mind. Suppose that I want to convey my thoughts and my feelings and my some message from this place to the far away, so that it cannot possible to transmit my voice from over a long distance. So that at that time we have to need some techniques which can transmit my informations or my voice over the long distance. So in this way, we will discuss basically the concept of telecommunications. Telecommunications is basically that is derived from the Latin word that is a communicatio. That is basically the social process of the information exchange, and the tele means that is the far away. So that basically the telecommunication is derived for to transmit the signals and to transmit your voice over the long distance by the wire, radio, optical, and the electromagnetic system. So that basically the human desire of the humans for communication over a distance greater than that feasible with the human voice, so that telecommunication can transmit your voice for a long distance. Some invention have some historical background. Similarly, before to going to discuss to digital communications, we have to also know about basic concept of the telegraph, radio, telephone, television. These are the some invention which already invented before the digital communications. So that the first concept was held in 1844 by the Samuel Morse. So that is, he was basically the painter, and he transmit the signals over a long distance by the telegraph method. Similarly, in 1901, the Marconi was invented, the radio, and he transmit the signals over a long distance. Similarly, in 1875, the Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, and in 1928, the fellow Farnsworth invented the television. So these are the some historical background which already invented before the digital communication. So any communication system have the some basic components. So like this, I am going to discuss here the some basic communications part, which is the essential of the any communication system, like the analog and the digital communication system. So that here the first we have to transmit the information which want to transmit from the source to the destinations, so that information can be sound, picture, speech, or the data. So that these are the basically the human voice signals, and the first we have to transmit these signals over the channels, so that we have to convert these signals into the electrical form by the help of transducer, so that this transducer will convert these informations into the electrical form and transmit over the channels by the transmitter. So that channel can maybe like the wired channels or the wireless channels. They depend upon the availability of the user. And after that, the informations can be collected at the receiver side. And here we are again introducing the output transducer, which convert the electrical signal into the original human voice signals, or the in the form of original form. So during the transmission of the information from source to the destinations, at that time the noise will be also introduced. So these are the some fundamentals of the communication block diagram, which is essential for any communications like the analog communications and the digital communication. And the any communication should have some basic requirement, or we can say that the features of the good communication should also be introduced here, so that any communications will be fine if the small signal power, and we are discussing here if large data rate that is introduced by the bits per second. And we also required basically the small bandwidth, so that every vendor is need basically the small bandwidth, and want to transmit the more information in small bandwidth durations. and there should be low distortion, and the overall that is the transmission cost should be very low. So these are the some essential features for the good communication system. So that what makes the communication system challenging? Every communication system can be deployed is not in a proper way. So that every communication system has some challenges behind that. So like that, the information rate, that is very big challenge. We have to transmit the more informations in a fast, or we can say that the information rate should be very fast. The cost, that is a very important thing. Number of users, how many users are using the communication, and the quality of service, which type of service we are providing, and the medium over which the information is sent. That means that is a channel of which medium we are using to transmit the information, like that is a wireless or the wired communication, wired channels. So these are the some challenges for any communication system. Similarly, the first question rises in our mind: what is the mean of digital communication? So that if the information is transmitted over the channels and encoded in the digitally form, so that we can say that this is the digital communication system. That means our informations can be stored and processing by the computer. So that this type of the communication system is called basically the digital communication system. Why digital communication system is preferred over the analog communication system? So that we have the digital communication had some advantage over the analog communication. So like that, the distortion and the noise interference is much less in digital signal. This is the very important. Any communication system should be less distorted, less noisy, and the less interference of the signals. The second thing is that any communication system should be designed in easy way, and the system and the circuit should be more reliable. And the hardware implementation of the digital communication is very easy, and the crosstalk problem is very rare in digital communication system. But in the time of analog communication, the crosstalk problem was very beginning. So that and the signal processing functions such as encryption and the compressions are employed in the digital circuit because for the security purpose. Nowadays, every user want to transmit those information which is very encrypted, or we can say that which is very secure over the transmission. So that the digital communication provide basically the secure informations over the channel. These are the some real life example which we already seeing during the day-to-day life, like mobile TV, mobile phone, emails, SMS, and the mobile internet, Wi-Fi, video. These are basically the some real life example which we are using. In 2000, we can say that there are basically the millions of the wireless devices, but now in 2020, the billions of the wireless devices are using day to day in our life. Similarly, every subject has some research areas, so that similarly, the digital communication has some research of areas like GSM communication system, modulations, IoT, Internet of Things, analog to digital conversion, cognitive radio, audio processing, and the optical communication, and many more. So that this is basically the fundamental and the important subject of the electronics and communication engineering, and you have a lots of area, and the more emerging area of the communication engineering, where you can explore your knowledge by the research. So these are the some research areas, but these are not limited, and you can add more and more. Similarly, after the completion of this course, which we are going to learn, that is important questions and always rise in our mind. So that during this course, we will going to discuss basically the sampling theorem and the techniques which will be introduced in Unit 1, and the different modulation techniques like that PAM, PCM, PWM. These are the digital pulse code modulation, DPCM. This will cover in unit second, and the different digital modulation techniques, and these will be introduced in the unit 3. And we will also discuss the bandpass data transmission, and that is will introduce in unit 4. And a very important unit, that is the information theory and coding, that were introduced in unit 5. So after the completion of this syllabus and this course, we will basically able to know about these fundamentals of the different areas. Similarly, these are the course outcome which will cover after the completion of the course. The every students will be able to know about the basic information theory, source coding, and the entropy, and similarly know about the line codes and the symbol interference, and learn basically the generation and the detection of the baseband system, and also about the basic different modulation techniques, and will be able to learn about the different error control coding scheme, and we also know about the sampling techniques and how many types of the sampling techniques can be used for conversion the continuous to the discrete time signal. So these are the some course outcome which will be after the completion of the course, and the students will be able to know more and more about the digital communication system. These are the some references books which we have to opt during the course, like the Communication System by the Simon Hykins, that is from the Billy Publications. The Principle of Communication System by Tobin Sealing, that is from the Tata McGraw-Hill Publication System. Communication System from the Singh and Separate from the Tata McGraw-Hill, and Modern Digital and Analog Communication System by B.P. Lathi through the Oxford University Press. So these are the some references which I took during my presentations. So thank you very much for